Alright, let's go ahead and get into it. Howdy, howdy, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sharkinbear, and welcome to the channel where today we're going to be talking about Soulstone Survivors. I've been reading the forum boards a lot lately, and I've been seeing that some people seem to be struggling with getting further into the game, and I figured I would perhaps give some tips that should alleviate some of the frustrations that any of you might be having trying to progress in the game. This is just a short guide to help anybody out there, so if this is helpful to you at all, feel free to like and subscribe to the channel as it really helps me out in return. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into it. Starting with the first major hurdle, Tier Curse 4, there are some recommendations I have. I feel like, Curse Tier 4 is probably the first major roadblock that a lot of people are having as far as getting into the game. That's when you start running into things like the mortar turrets and whatnot, and those can be pretty daunting to start out with. So some of the recommendations I can make right now is certain classes to play. Now, while every character has its strengths and its weaknesses, there are some characters that are easier for pushing the content in the earlier versions of the game, in the earlier curse tier of the game. For me, wholeheartedly, I can endorse a lot of these characters. Pyromancer's good, Houndmaster's good, Spellblade, Arcane Weaver, Sentinel, Paladin, honestly, Summoner and Death Knight, but that's probably going to be one of the later classes that you unlock. That being said, all those classes are pretty good. All these classes are fairly good, except for you, Assassin. You suck ass. Please, someone fix him. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and give my top 3 that I would suggest for anybody who's having any problems there. So one of the first things that I would work towards unlocking as far as classes go, or the 3 suggestions I can make towards unlocking, is the Arcane Weaver, the Paladin, and the Necromancer. Now all of these will be unlocked through natural progression. I believe maybe the Paladin might be a little iffy for some people at start, because I do believe the Paladin is unlocked. Oh no, it's actually fairly easy. Complete 100% of the map. So that's fairly good for the Arcane Weaver. Eliminate a total of 50 Void Lords. You're going to be doing that naturally, so just as you play through the level. And, okay, so the Necromancer being slightly harder, but honestly still not that bad. You should be making way to Curse Tier 3 fairly easily. Just make that the Dungeon of Despair, and you'll have unlocked the Necromancer. That being said, why do I choose these 3 classes? Well, for me, the Paladin is probably the strongest of the bunch. I would say actually all 3 of them. They all have their benefits. But the Paladin I find to be fairly strong, and I see everyone saying it's strong. So why is it strong? So one of the skills that the Holy Paladin gets fairly easily is the skill Holy Fire. It's insanely strong and carry easily on its own, and then is unlocked as soon as you unlock the Paladin from the start. It basically sends a wave of Holy Fire across the ground, almost like a shotgun blast, and this thing can just clear. And having that skill available right from the start really helps clear content. The other skills that you can unlock for the Paladin that I can wholeheartedly suggest as you play through is Exorcism. Exorcism is really good, and I cannot tell you how awesome Beacon of Light is. That is insanely good. It puts a little AoE on the ground, heals. You can get multicast and stuff and just throw down a whole bunch of heal spots, plus it damages targets around there. So that's Holy Paladin for you. So let me just let you know that that guy's a beast already. Another option I would recommend is the Arcane Weaver, and he has 2 what I would be considered some of the strongest spells in the game. I mean, there are plenty of broken abilities, however, there are 2 that really shine for the arcane playstyles. Those 2 are the Arcane Orb, unlocked at level 20 for the Arcane Weaver, and Magic Missile, which is unlocked by default for the Arcane Weaver. I would say out of those 2, Magic Missile is going to get you through until you get Arcane Orb to stack with it as well. So Arcane Orb basically sends out an orb, and it just shoots out, and it does a crap ton of damage. I can't remember if there's a debuff that does. Is it? Yes, exposed. Increasing next damage taken by 80%, lasts for 6 seconds or until consumed. This is extremely good, especially multicast. You can send out multiple of these balls at once, these orbs at once, and they will just destroy. That being said, Magic Missile is unlocked at default, and it's probably one of the most busted spells in the entire game. I can't actually look at it in game because it's not unlockable, it's unlocked by default, but it applies something called Brittle to your targets, and it just releases in a conal attack in front of you, and it applies Brittle to the all enemies, which basically increases the amount of damage they are dealt And Magic Missile on its own, when ramped up, when powered up, when strengthened up, will rip through anything. Bosses, elites, mortar turrets, anything. You can make a build just for Magic Missile. It's insanely good. So toss a bit of multicast on there and you will clear a boss in like a matter of seconds. It's crazy. And the final class that I can recommend towards working for, like we said, Curse Tier 3 on the Dungeons of Despair, is the Necromancer. Well, why the Necromancer? This is actually more of a safe option, in my opinion, when playing the classes. He has the ability to summon mages when you reach Prestige level 5 with this class, and later on he gets the archers at Prestige level 20. And you will shred through foes without hardly ever being targeted because the enemies will be targeting your summons. Another suggestion I can make is entirely on you, would be Chaos Golems. Honestly, I forego them. Maybe like early game I would take them because they do take some threat off you if you don't get the archers or the mages. So it's really great to not be targeted when you're doing higher level content. However, the downside to taking any of the melee things is it actually kind of detracts from you because melee units wander off or they stay still. So while you're trying to avoid all the damage going out or enemies chasing you, the golems or the warriors, they'll just go wherever they want. So in general, I might take Chaos Golems, but eventually I'll dump it once I've gotten enough archers and mages. I also end up dumping warriors for the same reason. You're trying to kill enemies, but they're wandering around trying to kill your warriors and walking halfway across the map. So, not so great, but they are awesome. And the other thing about the ranged units for the Necromancer, the mages, and archers specifically, is while they don't target specifically what you want them to target, they do generally target the direction you are aiming in. So if you're aiming to the right, your archers and mages are going to tend to shoot over there. So you do have some control over there, which is insanely good for those classes. So you can be more, you can more or less kind of define where you want to attack. If there's a mortar turret over there, target the mortar turret, aim that direction, you're going to hit them. But other attacks that are really good with the Necromancer is stuff like Shadow Nova, which will actually heal your troops, and Shadow Orb, which does a lot of doom damage. That's also a really good one. Overall, Necromancer is really safe, but it was actually the first character that I managed to get into tier 7 for 2 of my maps, just having mages and archers. Like later in the game, when you're able to unlock things such as the singular focus, which we're not really going to talk about in this video, but you can stack multiple skills at once, and I literally made a team of nothing but archers and mages, and they just tore through everything. So yeah, so that being said, once you have these 3 classes unlocked, I'm fairly confident you'll be able to tear through tier 4 and 5 fairly easily. Those classes make quick work with those spells. Those are my spell suggestions. There are other spells that are just as strong. You can do this with any of these classes. I just find those to be the easiest 3 classes to make through this content. Other people will suggest other things. That's cool. Everybody has a preference, right? But as you work your way through tier 4 and 5, you're going to start coming into a roadblock probably as you get to tier 6. With that being said, I would then also start focusing on runes if you hadn't already. And I just want to make a couple of rune suggestions for here. The 2 best runes, and this is just my opinion again, I don't know what the community as a whole thinks, but I would wholeheartedly endorse Dash Mastery and Weapon Expert. Weapon Expert can be unlocked by just getting a character level to 200 in a match. This can't be done as far as I can tell in a normal game. In order to reach this, you'll first need to beat all 5 lords in a game sub 14 minutes. I think it's 14 minutes. Once you do this, a red portal opens up and you can proceed to start the match over again. This is called Overlord mode. Albeit this time with more enemies and multiple bosses spawning. Instead of 1, you'll have 2 in the first round of Overlord. And you'll need to do this again until you complete the Overlord round 2 and 3, somewhere in that range. You don't have to get sub 14 minutes in these Overlord portals. Just open them up and start taking enemies down, whittle them down. Play it safe if you have to, but honestly, Overlord 2 and 3 should be fairly easy, especially with those 3 classes I recommended. All said, it isn't really super hard to unlock because you can actually do this, and I would suggest doing this without any curse active when you start the initial run. So that just makes it so much easier with not having to worry about like modifiers and stuff like that. By the time you reach curse 3, you'll get to level 100 and you'll unlock Weapon Expert. As for what the rune itself does, it gives your characters equipped with this rune an additional active ability straight out of the gate when starting a round. Usually you won't get another active ability until you get level 2 at the start of a match, and so this is a pretty huge power spike across the board for everyone, even the barbarian. But not you, assassin, you still suck. Again, I can suggest playing the paladin if you want to burn through runs, because the secondary active ability he gets is he actually starts off with Holy Fire, which again is insanely strong, as I mentioned before. Dash Mastery right here is also extremely easy to unlock, and you may have already unlocked it at this point. All you do is complete tier 2 curse on the Frozen Wastelands and you've unlocked it. And for your hard-earned effort, you get 50% more distance on your dash. And let me tell you, it makes a whole heck of a difference. Instead of using multiple dashes to move out of the way, you'll be able to conserve them better for bigger attacks coming, or you can spend multiple dodges to get the hell out of dodge and avoid the huge total attack you'll land in the middle of. After that, you'll start looking for other runes that can help you push into tier 6 and above. Those other runes I would suggest are Executioner, right here, which increases damage dealt to enemies for every negative status effect on them. Commanding Presence, which is right here. This is a little bit harder one to get, as it directly increases the damage of summoned monsters by 40%, which is insane. But you do lose 40% of your damage for your character, but if you're going a summon build, it won't matter. They're going to do all the damage for you. And Focus Fire is another one that is right here. This is going to give you a 40% damage increase, but all your area effect skills get a negative 20% on their size. And I am going to tell you, not even remotely noticeable, so that is just like a win-win scenario for me. Plus, you're going to be maxing out the size of any skills anyways, so you're going to pretty much cover that as quick as possible. For all these other skills, so here's Executioner right here. There's Commanding Presence. Here's Weapon Expert, Dash Mastery, Focus Fire. Right here. And the reason why I point these out is if you haven't unlocked runes yet, and you'll see right up here, you can't actually see what the runes do at first. So that's why I'm pointing it out for you. So if you want to go see what the goals are in order to unlock these, I can point them for you here, and you can go find them in the achievements if you need to. They're all over here, and they tell you exactly what to do in order to unlock them, and once you unlock them you can read the descriptions for the skills. But knowing what they do and knowing what to aim for really would help you out in the long run, so that's fairly good. With that being said, I hope this video was helpful to you guys, and I look forward to hearing from everyone. I'm sorry if I sound a little bit out of breath. I am dealing with a little bit of sickness, so I do apologize for that, and I look forward to hearing from everyone. Feel free to subscribe to the channel or leave a comment below if you would like to see me try a certain build, or if you have any further questions. I also have an open Discord for anyone who would like to join me and come hang out with me and my buds. That link is here in the description of the channel. So until then, you guys take care, and I will see you all in the next video. Later.